You know something about yourself that you've never been able to prove. Not to other people, to yourself. It's not that you think you're smarter than everyone in the room. It's more specific than that, and more uncomfortable. It's the feeling that the way your mind works, the pausing before you answer, the replaying conversations 3 days later, the going quiet when you have the most to say, that all of that is not a collection of flaws, that it's actually how your mind is built. You just don't have a name for it yet. This video is the evidence. There are 8 of them, and you already know every one. You just called them something else. By the time this ends, every single thing you've been filing under "something wrong with me" is going to have a different name. To the room, it looked like you had nothing to say. You're in a meeting. Someone is explaining a plan. About 40 seconds in, you see the flaw. Not a small one, a structural one. The kind that will become a problem in 2 months when everyone else is wondering what went wrong. You don't say anything. You know what happens when you do. The room doesn't lean in and say, "Good catch." The room gets complicated. The person presenting gets defensive. The energy shifts. You've been here before. You know the tacks. So you store the observation. You let the presentation finish. You nod in the right places. And 2 months later, when the thing breaks in exactly the way you saw it would, you don't say, "I knew," because you were there when you knew, and you said nothing, and that already happened. From outside, that looks like you didn't contribute. What actually happened is you ran a calculation so fast you barely noticed you were doing it. You've learned, from experience, that being right out loud has a price, and you've decided most of the time not to pay it. To everyone in that argument, it looked like you gave up. You go quiet not because you have nothing to say, because by the time your mouth opens, you've already run the conversation forward, 6 different versions of it, and in most of them, saying the thing out loud makes it worse. You can see the escalation. You can see the point where it stops being about the thing and starts being about something older, something else entirely. You can see exactly where it ends. So you close your mouth, and the other person reads that as losing. Sometimes they say it directly. You never fight for yourself. You let them think that. To anyone watching, it looked like you couldn't decide. A message comes in on a slow Monday. Someone you respect, a collaboration, a project, the kind of thing that doesn't come around often. They need an answer by Friday. You almost reply yes before lunch. The opportunity is real and you know it. But you don't. You spend the week inside it. You're eating dinner and running the version where it works. You're in the shower running the version where the one thing you're quietly worried about turns out to be the exact thing. You're almost asleep Thursday night running the version where you said no and spent 6 months wondering. Thursday evening, you reply yes. From outside, that looks like someone who almost didn't take the opportunity. What was actually happening, you were surviving every version of the outcome before you committed to one. To everyone who saw you after, it looked like anxiety. You replay the conversation, not the morning after, sometimes 3 days after. You're in the shower, you're almost asleep, and a conversation from Tuesday comes back up. Something you said, something you didn't. The look on someone's face at a moment you're not sure you read correctly. People assume this is rumination. You're too in your head. But if you're honest about what's actually happening, you're still calibrating. You're running it again with fresh eyes, checking if you missed something. That's not the same thing as worrying. Worrying is the same loop, different day. This is different. You're not spinning. You're going deeper. You just never had a word for the difference, so you accepted the label other people gave you, overthinking, and you filed it under character flaws, right next to too sensitive, too quiet, too much. This one's going to sting a little. You're in a group conversation. Things are moving fast. You take a beat. You always take a beat. And by the time you say your thing, quietly, the room has already moved past it. Then, about 4 minutes later, someone else says it, slightly rephrased, louder, with more confidence behind it, and the room responds. You feel that specific small drop in your chest. You know exactly what just happened. But you don't say anything because pointing it out would make you look smaller, not bigger. It would turn a small moment into a strange one. So you let it go. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you add it to a running tally you never look at directly but carry everywhere you go. You learned it again. The time you need to be right costs you the room. That tally you carry everywhere, it is not resentment, it is evidence. To the room, it looked like you weren't really there. The party, you're holding a drink, you're nodding at the right moments, but you're also, at the same time, running something quiet. You notice how the group is organized, who's performing, who's actually comfortable, who came with someone and has been slightly separate all night. You notice when the energy in a corner shifts. You notice the exact moment someone stops being interested in the conversation they're in, but hasn't figured out how to leave it yet. You're not doing this on purpose. You can't really turn it off. And then someone catches your eye. Hey, you okay? You seem a little checked out. And you feel guilty because they're right and wrong at the same time. You were somewhere else, but you were somewhere. You were paying a different kind of attention. Explaining that feels like too much to explain. So you smile and say, "No, I'm good," and you come back to the surface. You were reading the room just couldn't read you back. To everyone who had to work with you, it looked like stubbornness. Your mind catches on broken things like a tongue finds a chipped tooth. You didn't choose it. You can't turn it off. Something is slightly wrong. A process, a system, a sentence in a document that contradicts the sentence above it. And your mind goes there, again. Other people finish the meeting and move on. You walk out and it's still running. You're making coffee and it's still running. You're trying to sleep and it's still there, at low volume, in the background. It looks like you can't let things go, like you're difficult. What's actually happening, you're not holding on to it. It's holding on to you. Your mind doesn't have a drawer marked unsolved, leave it. It just keeps working. The people who shrug and move on aren't more easygoing than you. They're just not being held. To anyone at that dinner, it looked like you weren't listening. Someone asks what you're thinking. The honest answer is 6 things. Not vaguely 6 things, specifically 6, running simultaneously at different levels. 1 is about this conversation. 1 is something you noticed earlier today that you haven't resolved yet. 1 is 2 levels of abstraction removed from anything happening at this table. And they're all moving at once. You cannot translate that into a sentence. So you say nothing, or just tired. They don't know that nothing is where you go when everything is too much to explain. You have been told in different ways by different people over a long time that you are too much. Too quiet, too slow to answer, too in your head, too hard to read, too careful, too sensitive. And at some point you stopped arguing with it, not because they were right, but because you had no framework, no counter evidence, just a private sense that the way you work doesn't match the way the room expects you to work. And rooms don't usually adjust for one person. None of this feels like a gift when you're inside it. You can see the ending of conversations before they start, and you still have to sit through all of them. But there is a difference between a cost and a flaw, and none of this is broken. You have been editing yourself for an audience that wasn't paying attention anyway. You don't have to do that anymore. You clicked on this video today. Maybe you already knew it was going to be about you. Maybe you just hoped. Either way, it was. You don't have to tell anyone that, but you can stop filing the way your mind works under things that are wrong with you. That's the whole thing. That's it. If this felt like someone finally said what you couldn't, there's a subscribe button somewhere on this screen. It means the next time I make something that sounds like this, it finds you. This is the Better Version Project. I'll see you in the next video.